This episode of the Gritty Angler podcast is actually an episode of the Gritty Bowman podcast. My good friend Brian Call from Gritty Bowman had the opportunity to sit down with the guys from Montana Wild. He had a great time getting to know Travis and Zach, owners of Montana Wild, but the conversation drifts into heavier and more controversial topics of game violations, ethics, and poaching. Many of us in the fly fishing world have heard their story, or at least we think we have. Stay tuned to hear their story in detail. I agree with all of Brian's sentiments in his introduction, hence the reason for me wanting to share this podcast on Gritty Angler. Here is Brian and episode 286 of the Gritty Bowman podcast.
First off, I want to make sure it's very clear that I have tremendous respect for law enforcement agencies and for our fish and wildlife officers across the nation. In fact, some of my closest and dearest friends are police and fish and wildlife officers. Furthermore, I would count these men among the best human beings I know. That said, not all human beings are created equal, and not all law enforcement personnel do a good job. Let me ask you, when confronted by the following situation, what you would do. You're out deer hunting. You see a great 3x3 buck and you take a shot at it. The buck runs behind some cover, it disappears for a moment, and then you see him. He's standing just beyond the point where you took the first shot. You take aim, and this time, you drop him where he's standing. As you walk over to tag your deer, to your utter shock and dismay, you realize you accidentally shot two different deer. You thought they were the same deer, but they weren't. You have broken the law, committed a game violation. It was an honest mistake, a complete accident. What do? Do you call your state wildlife division and report yourself? Do you tag one of the deer and pretend nothing happened? Do you take both deer so as not to waste the meat but don't report your violation? And let's say you do report yourself to local wildlife officials. Do they give you a warning and say it was an honest mistake? Or do you get a minimum fine? Or do you get the maximum fine and lose your hunting privileges for 3 to 5 years? We've all heard stories like this that end well and that end badly, depending on how you look at it. In 2013, Montana Wild set out to make a fly fishing film for bull trout in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. This decision and subsequent actions would lead to a long and drawn-out investigation of Montana Wild and would result in a series of game violations that would eventually be settled outside of court. There's always two sides to every story. I'm fully aware of this. On this episode of Gritty Bowman, we talk about the Montana Wild side of this story, something that Zach and Travis Boughton, the owners of Montana Wild, have not hitherto publicly discussed in a forum like this. I applaud them for doing this podcast with me. A close friend of mine asked me why I would do this podcast with Zach and Travis. Why would I talk about this subject? Why not just stick to a discussion about their awesome new video, The Outliers, and leave it at that? First of all, I don't like ignoring the elephant in the room. It feels fake to me. The entire time we talk about the new video, there will be people out there calling them poachers under their breath. And that's another reason I wanted to talk about this. It bothers me the way individuals hang people out to dry for poaching allegations before any convictions are made. What happened to two sides to every story, or innocent until proven guilty, or let him without fault cast the first stone? And it annoys me the way people blow violations out of proportions. The way some people act, you'd think that someone who shot a squirrel out of season is the equivalent of a child rapist. We just should keep things in perspective. The thing is, I appreciate the sincere effort and skill that goes into the production of Montana Wild films. I truly feel, whether they made mistakes or not, that they have a sincere love of the outdoors and a passion for presenting a positive message about hunting to the world at large. You can see it in their films. And frankly, I feel a responsibility to share their side of the story because I'm not perfect. Aaron Snyder isn't perfect. We've done stupid and ignorant things, and I'd like to think that someone would give me the chance to share my story if the roles were reversed. And I think that's an important discussion to have. If I'm being completely and totally honest, I harbor a natural wariness and a minor lack of trust for law enforcement personnel that I don't personally know. And it's not because I'm guilty. It's primarily due to the imbalance of power. I think it's good to talk about these things. In the end, I want there to be trust and respect between fish and wildlife personnel, law enforcement, and hunters at large. I never want to see an us versus them mentality at play. I want to see mutual trust, shared goals, and genuine appreciation between all of us.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. This is not take 2. We're at Big Sky, Montana at the Total Archery Challenge event. I've got the Montana Wild brothers here with me, Travis and Zach
Boughton.
Boughton. B-O-U-G-H?
Yep.
T-O-N?
Yes.
Boughton. What is that,
Stuck
like
it.
French or?
It's like French.
In English.
Yeah.
Really?
A little German.
Boughton.
Used to be Button.
Well, it used to be Bouton. Supposedly we were button makers.
All right.
Not very glamorous.
I would stick with Boughton.
Yeah.
Bouton sounds just a little too.
Kind of.
It's a little
Frou-frou.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So that's good. I mean, we're giving everybody ammo straight off the bat.
yes.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
going to start calling us out when they see us.
See,
So that's okay.
I've been following you guys for a while. I've seen your stuff pop up on social media and your film, and I've been following that. And then a couple years ago, I really got to know Zach Griffith a little more.
Yep.
And as we spoke, he talked about how you guys were just producing some very cinematic and like real footage and film that he really, at the time, liked. And this was years ago. And wasn't seeing a lot of footage like that. And it really inspired him to get out and step up his game and really do something that's different from a lot of what the mainstream hunting industry had been doing.
Yeah.
And so I started to look a little more into what you guys were doing because of what Zach said and found some really beautiful footage that you guys put together. So
Thanks.
Last week I was at the Total Archery Challenge in Snowbird, and Travis hooked me up with your new DVD or digital download. You handed me the DVD, and I was like, DVD? You're like,
I was like, dude, I know you're old school. Take this.
yeah, you're like, you kind of sit there for a minute, and I'm like, yeah, I do have a DVD player. I mean, because some people don't.
We don't.
Anymore.
I figured you'd probably remember to watch if I gave you that, and then you'd be like, hey, I don't got a DVD player, dude.
Dude, it was
give you the digital.
It's funny because my kids, you buy all these DVDs when they're kids. My oldest is like 14, and now you have like a whole collection of kids DVDs, and my youngest is 7, and so they're still watching all those films. You can't get rid of the DVD player.
No.
But we rarely actually turn it on. I had to go find the cords for it and try to find a way to like get it to run. And then
I bet the kids are stoked. Like, the DVD player's back up.
And you know what? I actually
watch all the film.
I actually did. I got to watch some of it, but I hated watching it on the TV. And I knew I was on the road here. I swung by Best Buy, and I got a DVD disc ray player thing for my laptop. Nice. Slapped it on there, and boom. I was in the money.
Sweet.
So I watched it a couple times actually, and the DVD is called The Outlier.
Yep.
And what season is this?
It was 2 hunting seasons ago, so it was 2015. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
2015.
And then we had hunted it a few years prior. Like our film Ambush 2, our buddy Tyler shot a bull out there, and that was 2012.
That was just Ambush.
Oh, yeah, that was just Ambush.
The first one, yeah.
And then 2013, Travis and I went back out there, and we hunted and both shot bulls. We were shooting a film for Mystery Ranch, which is the pack out, which we show people how to pack an elk out.
Yeah. And
after that season, we got to talking to a couple of my buddies, Josh and Brandon, and they had both. Like I at the time I didn't know they were hunting out there.
Yeah.
But after the season, it was like, yeah, we're hunting the breaks too. And like we were in the same area, and like all 4 of us had shot bulls with the bows.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of a rarity as far as the numbers go.
Right.
I could be sick if we all 4 of us could go back and lay that down on film. And so that kind of spawned the film from the beginning. And so we just planned it out. And
I want to get into this film. Before we do that, I want you to tell folks a little bit about, anyone who doesn't know who you guys are. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what Montana Wild is.
So Montana Wild, it's basically, we're we're a media company, but we're also a brand. So, we do a lot of film and photography work, social media marketing stuff, and then we also sell apparel.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like our business as a whole. It's fairly diverse for just the two of us doing everything. Started in 2011
just as a blog.
And it was just, we didn't actually grow up hunting and fishing. We
Really?
Yeah. We didn't actually start hunting and fishing till 2010.
What?
Yeah.
Well, it's been like 8 or 9 years now, so whatever that
Somewhere right
Okay,
around
wait a
goes
minute.
back to.
Okay, how did you get into hunting and fishing?
we'll try to keep it short. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. Anyways, we grew up in North Idaho.
Okay.
No one in our family hunted
like Coeur d'Alene or?
Yeah, the Coeur d'Alene area. And our dad, he took us, like bass fishing, pike fishing a couple times, and actually took us fly fishing one time. At the time, we were like, dude, this is for old men.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention, like, I don't even know how I'm ever going to catch a fish because you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And
I think that trip, like, didn't you hook a fish or catch a fish before I cut my leg open?
Really?
It was, I think it was on the Coeur d'Alene River.
Mm-hmm.
And there's if I remember correctly, the highway was right there. Yeah. And either a big sheet of tin or steel or whatever had, ripped off of something during runoff or flew off a truck, and it was laying on the bank, and I just like hopped over it as a kid, and I caught right here this scar, my leg.
That's a legit scar.
On the edge of it, and a minute later, I'm like, it feels warm down there. I look down, and you can see the fat in my leg, and it's bleeding. And so, camping, fishing trip ruined. We hopped in the truck, and Dad.
Otherwise, Travis would have
home.
caught a real fish.
Otherwise, we might have been hooked there. But no, I mean, we thought it was just for old men, and none of our buddies really hunted that we were friends with.
So you really didn't hunt then, and so
we never hunted.
Fast forward.
So then Zach ended up coming actually to school here in Bozeman.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Before our family the next year actually ended up transplanting and moving to the Flathead Valley.
Oh, really?
And so that's when I moved with them. That was my senior year of high school. And
what an awesome place!
It was kind of around that time.
How could you live there and not get into hunting and fishing?
Oh yeah, like our cabin and then our home backed up to Forest Service land.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there just was some different vibe when you drive from Idaho over to Montana. You had to turn on some country music, and it was cool to drive a diesel. And
yeah, it's different.
So I just wanted to just go deer hunt. I don't know, some natural attraction to do it, and I walked around with a rifle a couple times behind.
And growing up, fortunately, our dad, he shot guns all the time.
Okay.
So we had a ton of knowledge as far as shooting rifles and handguns and stuff
hunted.
growing up. Just didn't hunt. We used them to shoot or personal self-defense. But then
so you started hunting, and you start the blog a year after you first go hunting.
It was a year or two. I don't know.
It was a year, and
regardless, it was close.
Right? Year and a half or so.
Long story short, Travis met a guy named Tyler McCann who we're good friends with, and he had a ranch out on the High Line, out by Haver. And so that fall, our first real hunting season, he invited us out there, and we had a hoot, and just, it's a target-rich environment.
Yeah.
And then the next spring, summer, I was living in Missoula, Travis was living in Missoula, and I kept hearing about Rock Creek, this world-famous fly fishing thing, and I was like, I probably need to figure out what this is if we have world-class fly fishing.
Yeah.
Right.
And just from there, I mean, you go out and you fish and have the right people and the right mindset. It's hard to stop or not like it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's way more people. Every single person you meet or have a common interest with, or become friends with, they're dude, you going fishing or are you going hunting this year?
Right.
What are you going? And so it's just it was super easy to find people to give you knowledge and to go out and just start hunting and fishing, and we were instantly hooked from there.
So you get into this and you start the blog, and how does that turn into film and stuff like that?
Before this, we skied a lot. I actually worked up here at Moonlight Basin and over at the Yellowstone Club just briefly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for a few years there, I was skiing 100 days a year, and Travis was skiing a lot as well. Yeah. And so we were consuming, like young dudes. We're watching a lot of like ski film, and like the online presence of content and media was huge.
Right.
And so when you start fishing and hunting, you're like, well, this is just how we do it when we go skiing. Like, where do we go watch the sweet fishing films and the sweet hunting films? And we couldn't find it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so, because here's the deal. You guys really depart from, at the time, what mainstream hunting footage looked like in general.
Yeah.
I mean, you had stuff ranging from, Bone Collector and Waddell and that kind of stuff to like Primos, where it's like 25 elk kills, and there's a little bit, but they're call-ins and a shot, call-in and a shot, call-in, and it seemed like everybody kind of did the same model, right? Mm-hmm. And to make a hunting film, you needed to be able to call in, you need to have a few elk shot on film, and that was the film. Mm-hmm. There was no film around getting to the wilderness or in the backcountry. There wasn't a lot of cinematography, really. It was just flat out, just camera, action.
It was like, hey, are we going to get a kill? Otherwise, this isn't happening.
And there's no video to really, it was cool because there's a lot of close-up footage of elk you get to see as they're screaming in that most climactic moment, but it really wasn't a film per se.
No.
So you guys are. So I find it interesting because you're not. It sounds like you weren't really influenced, being out of the hunting world. You weren't really influenced by any of the traditional content. So then when you go to look for footage you're looking for, you're like, hey, this stuff doesn't really match what we want to see.
No, there's like nothing. Well, with skiing, it's always like you watch films to get stoked for the season, gets you all jacked up, and then you go skiing. And for fishing and even hunting, it was like there's nothing out here that gets me stoked to go like hunting. I mean, there's stuff, but like very few things that actually get you excited to go out and go hunting or fishing for the year, especially on the fly fishing side. I mean, it was super classical music and like banjos. Not to say there's nothing wrong with banjos.
Like old dudes.
And then everybody, with just like, it just was older people fishing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exciting for like the younger crowd, which for us, we were like, dude, fly fishing's so like rad.
Yeah.
And,
Well, yeah, it was
hip and cool.
It was a perfect like scenario for us because growing up really golfing and skiing, you're in a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
Or you start hunting and fishing and you're like, dude, this is like endless. Like we can just go explore and rage around. And so I think we wanted to share that part of it because we thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
Like catching the fish and going out and hunting was great.
It's funny because on the fly fishing scene, the fly fishing tour is relatively new, these film tours that have been going around. And that's where I started to first see some really cool fly fishing, like outdoor hunting and outdoor fishing footage, right? Before that, it was like some old dudes who wrote books on how to tie flies, and you just didn't have didn't resonate with me the same way.
Yeah, like if someone wanted to come talk to us about fishing and like the legendary fly tires and like it, I wouldn't know any of it. You know, like, and some people would think that that's sad, but it's just the way that we've came into the sport and what's resonated with us just hasn't been that. We just want to go out, do it, have a good time.
So, so you took your kind of skiing, snowboarding, idea of filmmaking and brought it into fishing?
Yeah, so all of our inspiration was, a lot of it at the beginning was from ski, snowboard films, any of like the action sports stuff. And that's where we get a lot of inspiration. Just because there wasn't really much that got us inspired in the fishing and hunting.
So tell me this, right now, like today, what outdoor films do resonate with you?
Donnie Vincent, I say, is for sure. I mean, top dog as far as like inspirational content, or one of them. There's a lot of filmmakers that do some of the Yeti films, like Talweg Creative does some really awesome stuff.
Last night's film, The Linguist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can
that was
Outdoors
awesome.
does
That was
some
really
great
good.
work.
There's a lot of just like bits and pieces here. I don't think there's like one crew or one group of people that like just is always like, whoa, like
there's just parts
I think
you like
we just
about
like pick and choose things that you like.
Yeah, I'd say I like Donnie, Vincent.
I wish he just made more videos.
Yeah,
or he has them, but their dust is collecting on them.
Rumor is there's a new one coming out soon.
Nice.
I think it's long too. Like, and that's my thing too. I'm like, make it whatever length it needs to be to tell the story. If it's 20 minutes, great. If it's an hour and a half, great. I mean, just let it breathe. Let it be what it is.
Yeah.
You're not making it for TV. It doesn't have to be 22 minutes exactly. That kind of thing. I like that. I don't have a thing. It's like with podcasts. As long as the conversation is thriving and it's rolling, I don't really feel the need to. So some go an hour and then we're done.
Yeah.
Some go 3 hours.
Yeah.
It depends on that conversation. So I prefer to let a film run its course the same way.
Yeah.
And it's tricky because you want it to be, cherry picked to have just the best of the best. But then, and I'm no, like, I play at making films. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but I mean, you're the one. You're the most important opinion, as the viewer, because just the viewers don't make films either, and they're the people that you want the film to connect with.
Yeah, and I feel like at the end of the day, I've said this about everything. It's really about doing what I want to do and making films that I want my kids and my grandkids and friends to see and be inspired by. And I feel like if I'm doing that, and a whole bunch of other people like it, then I win. But if they don't, I still win.
Yeah.
And you can get really messed up, I think, trying to copy or imitate or do something that's just not you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, you should be stoked on what you're creating, like your idea. Like, if you think that's awesome, like, go with it.
Yeah.
If you let people's opinion, like outside opinion, change what you're doing and your mindset on how you want to create a film, I think you kind of lose like the power of like your filmmaking ability, like your personal filmmaking ability.
I agree.
Yeah. If you're not failing a few times making films, you're not doing it right. Because you're not learning anything.
So when you guys go from basically filming, or from you jump into this thing and start filming, I'm looking at your footage on this new film, this new DVD, The Outlier, and you guys slay some, you guys kill some bulls.
Yeah.
And the question is, so 2011, it hasn't been that long. How is it just that you live in an epic place, or are you guys just like killers?
No,
we're not killers.
I mean, for like the general time that we've hunted, I think we've done well. I wouldn't say we're killers. I think it's just.
I know for me, I'm not a killer. I just put in the time.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I always tell people, if you're gonna hunt, my odds of killing something if I hunt 14 days are astronomically higher than if I hunt 7.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and it was just, we were so excited and passionate about hunting and fishing when we started getting into it, that every single free minute or afternoon or morning that we had was spent either researching or time in the field. And when you spend, I mean, it's just like anything. If you practice and spend time in the field and gain knowledge, and that's all you do, I mean, you're going to get good at it quick, or at least learn and, I mean, make mistakes quickly, learn from those mistakes, and then just progress from there. And I think that's what we've done. And then just Zach and I being brothers and bouncing knowledge off each other. Like, yeah, dude, I went out hunting today. My wind, it was weird. It was like on my neck blowing towards the elk, and he just like, he didn't look at me, but he booked it. I have no idea like what happened. And Zach, being like, dude, he smelled you. Like elk can smell like humans, and they're scared of that. Just like, things like that. Again, we're like, you're an idiot, but like, all right, I know now like something, and I'm gonna move on from that. But
you build on it. Yeah.
I think it's cool just because, I mean, we're nothing special. We just worked really hard and had a passion for it. And it's like anybody, whether even the filmmaking stuff. I mean, I took a year of film school.
Did you?
And that was it. And we made like 2 15-second films that year.
Yeah.
You know? And like, we just grew up mobbing around the mountain with our dad's little camcorder, like, we're going to make a ski film. You know, like 14 and like 16 years old. And you can just learn so much. We actually, I guess we had a video class in high school where our teacher taught us quite a bit of the basics. But
I would say that when you watch this right here, you're looking at something that's better than your normal hunting films, especially in the cinematography department. In the and then I thought, you know, your color scale and all that kind of stuff was cool, and it really clean, like professional. Yeah, like for me, you get like this raw GoPro footage slapped on top of like some kind of. Yours is way too pretty for that.
There's too much pain carrying the big camera around to slap into GoPro footage.
But it's beautiful. So, and then I know from personal experience that just filming, having someone towed along behind you while you're trying to get something on film it's tough. And getting a shot on film and everything, it's really difficult. And you guys achieve that. But then, in addition to that, then you're able to actually produce it. And producing something is so difficult. You know, it takes so much time. How long did it take you to put this out?
Too much time.
Yeah, because where's 2016 and 2017? Because this is 2015.
Well, I mean, that can lead into a further conversation, but the stuff we were talking about earlier kind of delayed that film.
So a little bit ago, Aaron got in trouble for poaching squirrels. Did you guys know that?
No, I hadn't heard it yet. Which,
Yeah,
it's surprising. I mean, nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal when you poach.
I'm gonna send some emails as soon as we get off the podcast.
I'm gonna make a post on social media and be like, "That Snyder." No, for real. We were hunting last season, and
what were you guys hunting?
Elk hunting. We were elk hunting, and before we were up on the mountain, we had spotty connection. Aaron looks up. You know, you're downloading the regs on PDF, and it says squirrel, and then it says the season's open. And so we shoot a squirrel on with his recurve. You know, nice headshot.
Nice.
And he talks about how you skin a squirrel. He's eaten lots of squirrels, like just in the backcountry.
So other poaching incidents.
No. And then how you eat it, skin it, whatever. So we go through the whole thing on video, and we eat the squirrel, and anyway, we make the video, and we put it out there. And then a little, you know, people are watching it, and we get some emails like, what squirrel did you shoot? What state? What time of day? What date did you actually kill the squirrel? And I'm like, red flags are going off. Like, uh-oh. And I'm like, Aaron, you did check the regs? He's like, yeah, I checked the regs. I'm like, well, and so we're at his house. And I'm like, open them up. And so he pulls them open. He's looking at them, and it says squirrels. He's like, see? And the date, and then it says falconry. So you can hunt them with a falcon.
Sick.
But you can't with a bow for like 3 more days or something, like a week.
Got to give them a little bit of time to start running from those hawks before you can bust out the bows.
Right. So technically he illegally shot a squirrel out of season. So I was like, Aaron, we're going to have to call Fish and Wildlife and kind of explain that what happened, you know? So we do that, and you can almost lose your license in Colorado. But if you shoot a squirrel, it's so you get so many points on your license, and once you lose all those points, you get points applied, you lose your license. And it was a very it was a lot. It's close. Now we ended up with, we spoke to Fish and Wildlife for quite a while. We got a warning. Aaron got a warning, and there's a whole thing. It was very well. It was very professional and handled really well, and but it was one of those things where that term poaching gets thrown around, and for me, it's like I know people in town that are trapping squirrels and poisoning them because they're getting into their house or their the roof of their whatever, and that's not like almost not considered a problem,
No,
or illegal.
because they're on our territory.
But when you're up in the mountains and you shoot one with a recurve and you eat it in camp, that's poaching. Technically, I mean, it is. I'm not saying I'm not justifying it at all. I'm just saying it's sort of
It's a little funny.
Yeah. And anyway, when Aaron and I were working a lot with First Light, and then we were working with you guys, we had a few people write in and say, "How can you work with Sitka because they support known poachers?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Those Montana Wild Boys, they're poachers." And so I had to call Aaron. I'm like, "What are people talking about?" And he's like, "Oh," and he kind of ran it by me. So now I got you guys here on the podcast. I'm gonna get your
pinned down.
yeah, man. Now you're in the spotlight. What's this poaching accusation?
Yeah, it's a serious deal.
Yeah.
Fly fishing,
Yeah.
There's nothing dead, but yeah, the term poaching, it's
Yeah.
thrown at anything that someone, if you broke any kind of law, like you're a poacher all of a sudden. But
Well, I think that word technically,
maybe it technically means that. I don't know.
No, the definition's actually I think taking an animal's life illegally.
illegally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You could, on a snowboard hill, if you poached my line, that means, yeah, you went ahead of me. In snowboarder slang. You stole my line, dude. But other than that, yeah, I believe poaching is taking an animal's life illegally.
Animal illegally.
Yeah, so I mean, our story is really long.
Dude, let's hear it.
No bull trout were killed.
Two hours
drop it
later,
like it's hot,
and we're
Zach.
done. No, it was from 2013, so it's been 4 years now. But that was the first year we started as a business. And just when we started fly fishing, went to the fly fishing film tour, got Jack to go fishing, and just,
You're like, we're going to do a
films
for
and being confident. We were like, dude, we're going to make a film for the fly fishing film tour. There's no trout. And it's all exotic locations. We're college kids. There's cool stuff that could be on the screen here. And, when you're sitting in Missoula or in Bozeman, everybody there they're mostly trout fishermen.
Right.
Except for the guys that have it dialed and go,
absolutely,
tarping or do whatever. But
and those films in that tour, they're awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, they're just on another level. I like them. Generally, I like them a lot more than I like many of the hunting films.
Yeah.
They step up their level of cinematography and stuff like that. It's easy. It's eye candy. It is.
You can go back out and fish the next day if you miss some shots.
Right.
Once you kill your elk or deer, you're kind of done.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, we want to make a cool film in our backyard and show people that can have a sick adventure without flying to an exotic location.
Yep.
And just being hunters, bull trout fishing is the closest thing to hunting. You're getting out in the backcountry typically, because bull trout are living in cold, clear water.
They're also
most of the time sight fishing them, hunting a fish down and trying to catch that particular fish. And so it really resonated with us.
I know there's a lot of people in the, that don't have the opportunity to fish for that fish.
Yeah.
Because it's just protected in a lot of places.
And that's another thing that's kind of funny with the regs is you can pretty much go fish a streamer in bull trout water and you're good. You can go, the biggest cutties we catch are on streamers.
Yeah.
So unless a warden's over your shoulder and you're like, yeah, there's a bull trout down there, I'm going to catch them.
It's just kind of one of those things. It's up to the warden's discretion on what is targeting bull trout.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so it's not legal to target bull trout.
No.
But you can catch them. You can catch them on accident because you're fishing other species that take it. Right.
But this is kind of aside from this because we were in there intentionally. We were intentionally fishing.
Yeah, but you guys were fishing in a spot that was legal.
Yeah.
To target bull trout.
because a lot of times people come along and they'll say, it's not right to hunt a certain species because they're threatened or endangered.
Yeah.
But for example, I'll use Colorado. Pine squirrels are threatened in a lot of places, and so people are like, you can't shoot a pine squirrel. In Colorado, there's more pine squirrels than you could imagine. There's just in that locale, they're just booming. So hunting an area where it's like saying, you can't hunt elk in Missouri because they're threatened in Missouri.
The whole population could eventually spiral out
there's
of control.
Let's say there's 5 in Missouri. Well, I get it. But they're not in danger of disappearing from the planet when you've got like 200,000 in Colorado.
Well,
right?
and people don't
Or
understand that when
400,000.
something's threatened or even endangered, more so like, threatened, they don't understand that how tough it is to get them off of that
too.
designation to where it's like, even if an animal is recovering.
Oh yeah,
just
we as hunters we know that because of
grizzlies
grizzlies and wolves and how hard it is to get delisted. But when you sit there and you talk about this bull trout thing, some people are like, well, they're so rare. It's just even if it's okay to target them in this watershed, I just think it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like whoa, that watershed is so chock full of a certain species. Yeah. It's actually perfectly sustainable to harvest out of that area.
Yeah, and so like the area we're in, fish run out of Hungry Horse Reservoir, bull trout, and to spawn.
Yeah.
Up the
And
South
you can
Fork.
go, I don't remember exactly, but it's 1 or 2 bull trout that you can legally harvest from the reservoir.
Yeah, you can kill 2 bull trout out of the reservoir that these bull trout run out into the South Fork.
So it's
and
not even
tributaries
catch and
to
release.
spawn.
You can keep these
yeah,
fish.
1 per day. You
Yeah.
can't actually 2 in a day, but 2 throughout the year.
Okay.
Total. And there's
Resident fish in the river, but there's a lot, some really big ones, obviously, that live in the reservoir that run out.
And the one thing I want to remind people of on that stuff is because it drives me nuts is this is all managed by biologists
Yep.
who know a lot more than we do about how to manage their fisheries and their wildlife.
Yeah.
Our wildlife.
Yeah. So 2013, we want to go make this film.
Yeah.
We're like the South Fork of the Flat's the only legal place you can fish for bull trout.
Yeah.
And we had driven around. You can drive around on the low end, and we'd done a bunch of cutty fishing, and you obviously see bull trout. And so it was kind of like, this is like the dream trip is to actually get way back in there.
Yeah.
Get packed in and do this whole thing. We're going to go film it. And so I made a couple calls to the film office. We're just had got our business license. There's not a lot of information on film permits. Like, hey, here's what we're doing, and had a couple of hour-long plus conversations. And here's what we're doing. What's the process? How do I get a permit? Do I need a permit? Trying to understand the entire process and how it's viewed and what the hoops are you have to jump through. And the consensus was, you guys, you're not monetizing it.
Yeah.
You guys are good.
there's nothing against sharing your experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so many inconsistencies there, even from wilderness to wilderness, and whoever's running the show at that place and who you talk to, because I deal with that all the time, and wilderness is a pain.
Yeah.
There's in the whole permit thing. It's like, well, a guy can run a camera and take as many photos as he wants, and even sell those, and there's generally no issues with that. But if a guy takes a video, and we're talking like a GoPro.
Yeah. You're a criminal if you want.
It's like all, it's like
It's
all of a
one
sudden,
button or the other, and it's illegal.
And the thing is I've talked to everyone from like Giannis at Meat Eater to Born and Raised Outdoors to Hush, all about how they deal with permits. Randy Newberg. How are you dealing with permits?
Yeah.
And filming and everything, and everybody almost has a different opinion on it, and there's some who get them and some who don't, and they monetize the hell out of their stuff. So the whole thing with filming on the original, it's like, to me, it's a little bit like when Idaho says you can't put anything electronic on your bow, and then you mount a GoPro to it, and you get a ticket, but it didn't aid in the harvest of getting game, which was the original intent of the law. The original intent of getting a permit is, when Hollywood production films were out there filming like big Hollywood movies, they'd go out, wreck the forest, and then leave it, and they'd make all this money on this public resource
that now is damaged.
That's damaged, and not pay for that money to us who own it as citizens, and also leave it trashed. And so, but that's a whole lot different than when I walk out and leave no trace that I was there, and I run a GoPro and a Sony A7S II.
Well, it's like your impact is no different than, because you would have been out there probably anyways, other than now you have a camera in your hand.
It's completely, and it's no different than it would be with than it is with a photographer who sells their product. Yeah. So for me, I have the intent of the law and what it is right now in the books, I don't think I align. And it needs to be better written.
It has to be changed. And there's people wanting to change it.
But basically, you guys go in, you get have the discussions. You're like, do we need one? Do we not need one? What's the story here? And they're like, hey, you're not going to monetize it. Just go out and do it, which I've heard a lot.
Yeah.
And I've done.
And so we got our catch cards, which is what you need to go and fish for bull trout.
Okay.
They send you a catch card so you can document your catches and line up the outfitter to pack us in. We go in there, and obviously you're going to the South Fork. You're talking to other people. Where should we go? You know, we're going to go try to catch bull trout. And they're telling us all these spots. And so we went in. I think it was 12 days. There's like a day of travel on each end. So I think we got like 9 or 10 days of actually like fishing, which is awesome. It'll never happen again like that.
Yeah.
And came out and made this film and, you know, get a cut done, send it out to the different brands we work with, the film tour, try to get a little feedback before, you know, you get that final version cut and license your music.
Yeah. Right.
They're like, oh yeah, it looks great. License it, the music, get the final cut done, get the trailer done, you know, send it off to the fly fishing film tour, which they had accepted the film to run in the tour. And I think we had the trailer up for
like a month,
almost a month.
Yeah.
And it was at that point, this is like December, we're kind of starting to think about hunting films for next year.
Yeah.
Because they have to be so far out in advance. And we're starting to think about permits more. And so we're learning more. And we learned that in the wilderness, they don't issue permits
it's like no
to
go.
film.
Right.
And just in the process of learning, well, what's deemed commercial? It didn't mean that you monetized that video by selling it to someone, but if you had a logo in it, if you promoted your brand,
if you got a fly rod to use, if there's whatever,
any way that the Forest Service could say you had commercial gain from this film,
they're
going to come after you. So when we learned, you know, that the Forest Service is going to see the film, they're going to deem it commercial. We now know this.
Yeah.
That day, Travis and I were like, do we have to pull the film? Like, this is our best film yet. We really want people to see this, but we have to just scratch the whole project and move on to the next thing.
And for us, that when you're talking about permits, it's like when we have the opportunity to hunt wilderness, we've you know, Aaron and I have seriously considered whether we do it or don't do it because there is no real permit option at all. So that means whereas with BLM or some other designations, right. And so it's really tough to go there at all. And so we've even wondered, you know, if you're Instagram or live Facebooking some things that you're doing up there, are you now making film and monetizing it?
If they don't like you enough.
Yeah.
And that's the whole issue is it boils down to, by doing it, you give them an opportunity to do something if they want to. It's like a cop can write you a ticket for just about anything. He can find if he doesn't like you, he can find a reason. He can find something.
Make your life tough.
And I don't like giving that power to someone else. So doing a film on wilderness, and this was for me all new as well. Like I learned it a little late. So we've got some film. We've got footage we have never shared either because we didn't have permits for it.
Yeah.
But other areas, I've like Hush does a ton of it too. People sometimes get annoyed with us because we're hunting on some private land. I'm like, yeah, but with private, I can film any way I want.
Yeah.
And there's no issues. I go and hunt this public piece, and I have to deal with all sorts of problems with it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a pain, just the whole process. I mean, you got to do it. You got to fill out an application, do it at least 30 days before you want that permit. Not to mention like picking out sections on a map. Like most of the time they want to know the exact area, and it's not an easy process by any means. Not to mention it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you guys decide, you know what, this is just not going to work.
Yeah.
This is not a good idea. This is a hard lesson learned.
Oh yeah. We're like, this really sucks because this is our first year of business. We just go make this film, and now we're having to tell the sponsors and the tour, sorry, we can't. We got to just pull this film. It's going to live on our hard drives forever because it's just not. We didn't do it right.
Yeah. Which has happened to many an outdoor.
Are you sure?
We can not just this one location.
Can we just next time we'll make sure we don't do this? We can use this one, right? And we were like, no.
Like we want to do this
like
right.
This is going to reflect on your brand, and that's like our business. We care about our partnerships, right? And we don't want to reflect poorly on your brand. Like this is the best move for everybody here, not just us.
Yeah.
So we pulled the film.
Yeah, some of my early favorite films in Oregon were 2 Weeks in Purgatory and Return to Purgatory, which are two Oregon boys that film their hunts in Hell's Canyon area on the Oregon side. But basically, at the end of the day, their movies were out for years. They sold a whole bunch of DVDs, and then they came along and said, hey, where's your permit for that?
Yeah.
Well, there's a ton of guys who never had permits for most of their outdoor films.
Oh, yeah.
But they never got bothered because they never acted like, I mean, I'm speculating. They never pissed off,
they didn't get the right
people in charge. Yeah. And they were like, no big deal.
Yeah.
But in this case, they're like, they didn't like what they did and they shut them down.
Mm-hmm. It got on the right person's desk. They needed a raise, and so they had to be taken down.
No, I don't know about that. I think, honestly, I think they really did cross the line in how they treated the state officials.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot about that. I mean, I've briefly
but I don't know. I don't know. This is the rumor. Yeah. But the bottom line is, they got completely shut down, and it pretty much just kind of shut down most of everything they had earned and worked for.
Yeah,
because of that technicality on that permit process, and so it is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
we take it very seriously now that we know the process.
Yeah.
And
there are certain places where I said, where I think nobody cares whether you have a permit or not, and others like wilderness, where I heard Ranella talk about it a few times now on the Meat Eater podcast, and they don't even bother hunting in those areas because you can't make a show. Yeah. So it's just off limits.
Yeah. Which is a bummer.
So you guys bail out.
And that's a bummer because the filmmakers don't want to be advocates for new wilderness. Because they're like, I can't go there and create cool content and inspire people. Well, again, I think the concept of wilderness is...
The purpose for that land or for that law and all of that is just distorted now. I mean, it's not... And, I just heard Ranella do that podcast on wilderness, and it's no impact. The whole point of having wilderness is to have it be set aside in a way where there's very, very, very little human involvement and so forth. But you can hunt wilderness. And like you said, there's no difference between you being out there other than you have a little camera in your hand.
But the weird thing is an outfitter that can actually guide in the wilderness area, they can film all year long and promote those videos on their website all day long about the wilderness.
Yeah, if I'm an outfitter in the Bob Marshall, I can make promotional videos. I can hire someone to come film my outfit every day of the year under my special use permit.
Tell me how you really feel about that.
Well, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the mentality of like, all right, something needs to happen here.
Yeah.
So give me my outfitter license, and then I can go film.
Okay, so carry on.
So we pull the film, and at this point, we have zero idea that there's been any bull trout violations of any kind. Mm-hmm. And so it's like sometime the next spring, like knock,
March.
Yeah. Here's the wardens with a search permit or a search warrant saying you guys illegally fish for bull trout, acting like they're gonna take down some serious poaching ring or something.
Yeah.
And so we're like, dude, you got this mixed up. Like, we didn't do anything wrong. Like, we went in, we had the catch cards, we were in the season. Like, you guys got bad information. Or, like, this is crazy. Like, you know. And it was like a couple of days later when I'm talking to Ryan on the phone, one of the investigators, and I'm like, what's the deal? Like, what's going on here? You know, like,
what did we do?
What's up?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you guys fish for bull trout in the tributaries. I'm like, yeah, we did. Mm-hmm. He's like, you can't fish for bull trout in the tributaries. I was like, we had no idea.
Yeah. It was just
honest mistake.
Like,
you know, but like, and so at that point, and in all the research, you know, going into this trip, no one ever, and this isn't their fault. I mean, this is just, we thought we knew the regs. We talked to people and we looked at the regs, and the catch card that year, it marks different sections of the river. So when you catch a bull trout, you know, you write the estimated length, what section of river, and, you know, Young's and Danaher's on the map, and there's other tribs coming in on the map. Mm-hmm. And just the assumption was we can go fish the tribs.
Right.
And, you know, it's like you can fish upstream from the mouth of the Hungry Horse Reservoir to, you know, where Young's and Danaher like come together. And I don't know, it just, the regs weren't clear. Mm-hmm. And now the regs are very clearly different.
They changed them.
And so if the regs were clear enough the first time, why did they change them after this? You know, which again, we took and, you know, we've taken responsibility for all of it. Yeah. It's all accounted for. You know,
the way the regs were
crushed
supposed to be written and read, we were in the wrong. For sure.
Yeah.
But people think that this was an intentional, we were trying to get away with something. I mean, we made a film for the Fly Fishing Film Tour.
I know.
It's pretty hard to not know you're in the White River. It's like a white cobblestone bottom where Travis and Anthony are like, we're up the White River today. Like, we just spotted bull trout. Yeah. We're going to rock, paper, scissors for who gets to fish for it.
If it was not legal, you wouldn't be sitting there telling people, you know, all this stuff. It's like when we filmed the squirrel thing. If we knew it was not in season, would we have made a YouTube video and put it on YouTube?
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, it's our responsibility to read the regulations and know the regulations. I talked to but we were in Prince of Wales Island hunting black bear this spring, and my buddy Anthony, one of my closest friends, he's a fish and wildlife officer in Oregon, and we were in the room talking about this very issue. And he's like, Brian, come on, man. It's your job to know the regs. Did you even read the regs here in Prince of Wales? Did you go through the thing? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I read through what I think I need to know and stuff. And he's like, I'm like, but Anthony, you have to have a minor degree in like, in legalese to like understand some of this stuff or to follow it all. And he's like, no, it's not that complicated. Well, Ranella did that thing where they did that turkey deal, where they interviewed or polled people. They had them read all the regulations, and then they said, okay, do you feel confident after reading this that you could hunt a turkey legally? And I think it was like 8 out of 10 said no.
Yeah.
That's not good. So I think it's a well-known issue that our regulations are intimidating. They're confusing. They're not always the best written, and it's very easy to overlook or make a mistake like this in that situation. At the end of the day, though, it's still your fault.
Yeah.
You got to own it. It's the regs are there. It sucks.
Ours is a bad scenario because obviously there's a lot of people out doing that stuff. I mean, we have our reasons to believe that someone said the right stuff to the right people that just didn't like us. And, you know, I think they said things that didn't end up proving themselves when they showed up.
Oh, dude, when Aaron shot that.
It was a 2-year investigation. And that's the amount of taxpayer money to fine us for some film permits and fine us for some fishing where they can't even show a dead fish.
Because when they came in, they didn't realize, we're 2 college students.
Yeah.
We have footage on hard drives from when we were in high school skiing, backed up twice on Zach's side and mine. Took all of our computers, all of our hard drives, and it's FWP. You think they got computers that can run HD video files?
Yeah.
Heck no. They had to store it at the FBI.
Over in Billings,
and
which
travel,
is like 7 hours from
travel 7 hours to go review this footage from like 5 years. And it's just mind-boggling to think that,
Okay, this stuff just because Aaron and I, everyone I think that maybe has some level of high profile. Aaron and I have been investigated a couple of times already. I feel like there's just, in some sense, there's just you get a name, and then there are going to be people that outside the hunting or out that just hate you in general.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be fish and wildlife too that want to it's just like cops.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone's created equal. You have some amazing fish and wildlife officers, and then you have some that probably need to find a new career, and aren't the most ethical. And so, or let their own emotions get so involved. But it's
a tough thing because their job and what they do is a good thing.
But you know what?
But sometimes
that kind of money spent on a situation like that is
it's frustrating.
And at that point too, it feels like a witch hunt when they're confiscating hard drives from 5 years back and all this kind of stuff and going that far.
They took our phones. We went. Travis and I shared like a prepaid Walmart phone for like however many months,
6 months.
And so.
So at the end of the day, what did you get fined with? What was the citation?
I mean, just the citations and the legal process was a 2-hour discussion at least.
Well, anyways, so we got a bunch of violations from the beginning, for the film permits and then for the fishing violations. And one of the things that in the beginning we didn't actually get charged with it in the end, but the catch card, where you write your bull trout down, you have to write the length, and either in section A, B, or C on this map, it's broken into thirds with the South Fork running through it and tributaries coming off. You have to mark where you caught it. And so we had marked all of our bull trout, and at the top it says your last name and then a number, so you know which one's yours. We're brothers.
There's 2 battle cards.
We have the same last name, and we filled out each other's cards, and all the bull trout were accounted for on there. The information was correct. It's for the biologist, so he knows where bull trout are at certain parts of the year. They wrote us a ticket for every single bull trout on that card because it wasn't the correct catch card.
And the cards
are
are hilarious. So
wait a minute. I don't understand that.
So you have the catch card. When you catch a bull trout, you have to say, okay, it's this long.
Yep.
I caught on this date.
I get that.
Inches,
and it's either in section A, which is the highest on the river,
right?
B in the middle, or
C.
C.
You're just saying, I caught this fish on this day in this place. Blah.
Yep, and you have to fill it out right away while you're on the trip to
Yep.
document it so that the wildlife biologist, when you send it in when you're done, can be like, hey, he gets a better idea of where are these big
so they
fish
can track
at
stuff.
before they go and spawn or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just information for the wildlife biologist, but it is it's legal. Like you legally have to do that. So we fill them out. All the bull trout are accounted for, even the ones in the tributaries, all on there.
Yep.
It says at the very top, it doesn't say your full name. It says Boughton and then like a number. And
the
that's
permit number.
The permit, so that you know that it's your card. Anyways, we didn't think it was like I thought I had my card and he had his.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during the trip, you're in the backcountry. All 3 cards, Travis and mine and Anthony's, are all together.
Yeah.
So it's like where's my card? Like they're in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
And FWP, after the season's closed, I think in August or September, they sent, everyone that applied for a permit, they send you out paperwork saying, hey, fill out the paper here.
Yeah.
Send your catch card back in so they can get their information.
Right.
And so, you have to sign your catch card and sign the paperwork. And at that point in time, we both have signed ours. And when you get your paperwork back, now I see that the paperwork that has my full name on it doesn't match the number that's on my catch card. So I'm like, I fill out your catch card, dude. So I scratch out my signature, and Travis then signs that card. And I'm like, whoa. Well, now you just signed a card that's my fish. So then I scratch his signature out, and I sign it again. So now it has 3 signatures, but it's actually my fish that I signed for. But
the wrong number
Travis's
on the card.
Yeah.
And so they wrote us tickets for all those fish.
So, yeah. And
that's like 10 or 12 tickets right there.
Each.
They wrote Travis tickets for fishing for bull trout where you can see cutties in the water, and he's on like what, a 4-weight glass rod with the dry fly.
With the dry fly, catching cutties
On film.
Yeah.
on film.
But you can't do anything until you go to court and fight it. It's not
Right.
like, hey, Brian, you wrote a bad ticket.
No, I know. I know how that all rolls.
You know.
You better have some money.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to some of that.
Until someone knows like the legal process of paying an attorney and like how much it costs to go to court,
Which I've done 3 times.
it's like,
And I'll tell you this, and I tell this to everybody, and Aaron and I have done 3 shows discussing wildlife violations, and in the end, we need to get someone on and have some more discussions, but we always end up not publishing the show because it turns into a lot of disagreements on things, and it's a shame because, like you said earlier, I really appreciate and value the service that's being done, but stuff like this kind of pisses me off. Yeah. And I just have a general rule in general. If I'm involved in any kind of legal dispute with a police officer or a Fish and Wildlife, or it doesn't matter, if I get some sort of investigation coming on, I straight up go straight lawyer right away.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. I just say, I'm not going to talk to you. We're going to talk through an attorney because I just don't have the trust.
No.
And
one of the biggest mistakes, not mistakes, but from the beginning, we went and sat down with those guys like 2 or 3 days after they came and showed up on our door and told them everything. Recorded conversation, sat down. The guy from the Forest Service was there, went through all the films, told them where we filmed them.
Here's the deal, Zach.
We were like, dude, this is an honest mistake. Like, let's figure out how to get this right.
If you do that approach and you're working with someone or a group of people that genuinely kind of trust what you're doing and are like, look, these guys are just trying to do the right thing and blah, 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 blah. And they have your best interest at heart and also the wildlife's interest at heart. It's both ways, right? Mm-hmm. And you're working together, then that sort of frank discussion is good. Yeah. But if someone's just trying to stick you to the wall and they already think you're guilty before you're even talking, all you did was just give them a whole bunch of information to do what they want to do.
We know
but that was our frustration is because from day one, we just want to get this corrected and make it right. We are never going to put anything out in the papers or the press or anything like that. Yeah. And the Forest Service was like, hey, we'll probably just write you 1 or 2 tickets just to, make sure that we have something on the books, but we're not going to ticket you for everything.
Yeah.
And the FWP was like, we're not going to make this a big deal. It's public record. If someone wants to find it, they can look it up, but we're not going to make press releases or anything. We're like, let's figure this out. Let's sit down and talk. Let's get it dialed in. We want to make this right.
Yeah, no, I've not seen that end well very often because if I was investigated not too long ago, and this is something I didn't know, and it really disappointed me, but someone had called fish officer and fish cop, and he was like, hey, blah, 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 I have these questions for you, and started asking him, and then he said, like, hey, I know the truth about this situation. Mm-hmm. And so told me the truth, and this is what you did. Mm-hmm. Tell me the truth. This is what happened, isn't it? No. No, I have evidence. I have evidence on this day and this day that you did this and this. And I'm like, that couldn't be. And tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. And I was like, whoa, am I like on a scene of Law and Order? This is like, and then come to find out that it's perfectly legal for them to lie to you.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, they're trained to make you, like, if you've ever done anything guilty, to spill the beans. And
I applaud, they're trying to do a job. But at that point, the trust factor went down the tubes. Yeah. When I realized that the officer was lying to me on all of these things, trying to get me to crack on something I didn't do. Yeah. At that point, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. I want you to talk to an attorney of mine. Yeah. Because I don't feel like you're really looking for the truth here. You're looking for something to
write a ticket for.
Yeah. So I just have a really hard time that, and I think a lot of hunters do, trusting or not trusting. And again, it's not that there's a lot of dudes out there that are doing stuff illegally, and I'm like, the first thing hunters do is we want to see those poachers busted. Yeah. But then there's some things where it's an accident. And I see someone get, like, in the court of public opinion, just get
eaten alive.
Yeah.
And I hate to see that, because it's like, dude, the guy made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he went through this gate to get to this piece of property. He didn't know it was trespassing. And you're like,
mistakes
really?
happen all the time. I mean, like, we had a film and we sent it to people that have done a lot of fishing at big companies.
Yeah.
That
and no one was like, hey, here's a red flag. Like, it would have went and played in the film tour. And just like Yeti had a film, with the brothers and their dad hunting mule deer. I don't know if you saw it. And supposedly they're in Montana when they shot the film, and they used radios.
Yeah.
Which is illegal in Montana. And Yeti, no one at Yeti ever caught it.
Mm-hmm.
And it got, posted. I mean, they broke the law. I'm sure they're, handling it.
Yeah.
But, something slipped through the cracks, and it's not
a lot of times it's not
like
intentional. And it's not an excuse to say it was their job to know the rule and you figured it out. But
little things happen here and there where they're not poachers. I mean, hold them accountable to the law.
Yeah.
But you don't have to try to ruin people over an infraction here. They're like, look at the larger body works. If people are continually screwing up, like, there's an issue there.
Yeah.
And then, long story short, our buddy Anthony, he was a fishing guide, so obviously he has no choice but to fight it. And we wanted to. But, I mean, he's kind of first up to bat. And the county prosecutor cut him an awesome deal where he only took one ticket and a small fine. FWP didn't like it, and so they're like, we're pretty much going to throw the book at you guys, the bros, at this point. Or you're going to take this plea deal and keep your license. And so, I mean, it's kind of just a no-brainer, 'cause if you have a handful of tickets and the judge still wants to ding you on one and you lose your license, I mean, was it worth it? You won 5 out of 6, or you won 7 out of 8, or whatever it is, And
and the thing is, once you go to court, you just don't know where you're going to be at. There's a guarantee if you take, some kind of plea deal, what the outcome is.
Yeah.
Like, you make that choice. There's a lot of unknowns when you go the other route.
Yeah.
And it's just life. Aaron's been going through court with divorce right now and stuff. And it's like, turns your life upside down. They say, like, of all the things, like death, someone's, losing someone, and court are like two of the most, and divorce, but anything to do with being sued are some of the most life intense, like
stressful moments.
Oh yeah,
people can ever.
We
have.
were under investigation for 2 years, and then, I mean, just that, and then the aftermath of when we took the plea bargain.
And it's such a long process where, like, our attorney's dealing with the county prosecutor, and it's like offers on the table for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And your attorney calls you 4 hours later, and you're out on the river, and it's like, well, okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean,
it's such
they're not taking our license.
It's such
like,
high pressure.
I'm fine. Like, yes, technically, we fished in the tributaries. I have no problem taking those tickets, paying the fine, moving on.
Right.
Where court's going to be how much money, how much more time, how much more energy and stress. And
it also takes dollars. I know people who are absolutely guilty, absolutely poachers, and spent $10,000 to $20,000 and got away with everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, that it's just the way our court system is. I mean, you love America and everything, but at the end of the day, if you have money, you can fight things. And the budget, the way I've understood it too, is Fish and Wildlife is like the lowest. No one got murdered.
Yeah.
No one was killed. Up on when someone goes out and poaches a deer, especially if it's like to feed their family.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to someone's fighting that pretty hard, the state has a budget. And no one in the main community really cares if a guy shot a deer, when you're dealing with someone who murdered or someone who embezzled millions of dollars from something. I mean, there's so much money to go around, and we're kind of like, when it comes to wildlife, it's at the end of the deal.
Yeah, it's not a top tier of government.
And so a lot of times when people go into fighting it gets dropped.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to spend tens of thousands, 5, 10, well, 10
Tens.
to 20,000 really.
Tens of thousands.
Even 30. But, and then it's just like everybody loses in that case.
Yeah.
Everybody loses. But I'm kind of at that point in my life where, I've been to court 3 times. I've been sued twice, and I've sued someone else. And I'm just like, you want to go? Let's go. Bring it on. I'll get an attorney, and we'll go. We'll do the dance. And I just feel like I've never regretted hiring an attorney and going the rounds, especially if I feel like I'm innocent or this isn't fair or I don't believe in the process. I'm like, dude, I will mortgage my home and my future just out of my own dignity to fight this. And one time I spent it took me years to pay off that debt, and looking back, I won, but I was like, maybe that wasn't the smartest move, but it's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And I would have been way better off in hindsight to just let it go.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And but I in these situations, they're so, when you're dealing with someone who has trained their whole life to do investigations, to do interviews, to talk about these things, they're much more skilled. And I've seen this too many times where they're like, look, if you just admit you did X, Y, Z, if you just admit that, we're not going to go hard on you. It's just going to be a warning, and you're going to be back in business.
Put it on paper.
And then you're like, okay, I'll say I did it. And then they're like, okay, now you get every single fine known to man, and your license taken away for 3 years and so forth. And it's like, never do that.
No.
Never do that. No. And so, and that's to do regardless of whether it's fish and game or whether it's
and that's frustrating because it's like people make mistakes, and they should feel comfortable wanting to work with the people to make it right. And then people take advantage of it, and it just sets a bad tone.
How would you say this has changed you?
Oh, I mean, it was just a growing experience just as a human being in general. I mean, I don't think many people as like starting a business go through right off the bat a 2-year investigation and have to deal with what we did.
Yeah.
So like once we've like everything that's gone through, it's kind of like we can make it through anything. And I mean, the biggest thing was actually, we got the charges, we took the plea. Originally we were charged with like 40 something combining like charges
between three
dudes and film permits. I think that's all lumped together. And when they came out with
that's just anything that people can find. I mean, at that point, it's not about. It's just like, let's just hit them with everything and see which one sticks.
And when they came out with the statement, which this was the worst part, is when FTB came out with the statement on their website, they said, charged with 49 or 47 citations. Were they guilty to those? No. But that's the headline. 49 citations written for bull trout.
You can write as many as you want.
Blah, blah,
and the
blah.
paper misprint stuff, and they don't have any accountability. And, you can't go and sue them unless you have hard evidence of someone had it out to defame you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that was the big thing too, is as soon as that came out, and they said we had an impact on the fishery, but no bull trout were killed whatsoever. Not to mention, if we even did anything that was like that horrible, they would have taken our licenses right away.
Yeah.
Like, it was just,
you guys did catch and release on all that stuff.
Yeah, catch and release.
And it's all on film.
Yeah.
And the thing when it came out, we're like, well, we want to show some of this footage to people. But at that time, we didn't have an attorney that knew the laws well enough with the Forest Service to know that we weren't going to get dinged a second time if we start showing footage from the wilderness.
Right.
Are they going to come after us again?
You don't know.
On top of that, we had the Forest Service, film permit citations. He wrote us citations all the way back to the very first video we ever even shot fly fishing, which was with a GoPro on Rock Creek that we posted on YouTube. That at the time, it was embedded on our website, like our blog, and we were just starting to sell stickers, so it was considered commercial, and we got ticketed for it. And then we had another film that wasn't even shot on Forest Service land, but he ticketed for us for Forest Service, And, you know, when you get the tickets, it's like 30 days or we'll see you in federal court.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, I'll take one ticket to federal court.
And then when we were like, hey, we have a film, you know, that, you know, was for sure absolutely no Forest Service whatsoever. We can't get in contact with him.
Yeah, he's
in
out
the middle of
on
fire season. And so it's coming down to the wire. We're like, dude, I'm not paying my attorney for this like $150 ticket. But it still is like frustrating. I had to plead guilty to that.
Yeah.
So there's so many moving pieces that people don't get to see. They're like, I saw the press release that these guys are poachers, and you know.
And I mean, it's like with anything. I mean, you're gonna have people that don't like you, or you know, at any little time you're down, they're gonna grab onto that and try to just exploit you. And that's what they're doing. I mean, we had so many people in the fly fishing community calling us poachers, even though we didn't kill any bull trout. Yes, we fished tributaries for bull trout that we weren't supposed to, so apparently that makes us a poacher. But in people's mind, when they hear poachers, like, oh, they killed bull trout. Did you hear about Montana Wild killing bull trout?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole situation, like, we learned from it. We could have handled stuff better and done things differently.
Sure.
And we
going forward, you'd handle it way different, huh?
Yeah.
Like now, when that stuff pops up, I just don't get worried about it anymore. Mm-hmm. When someone sues me, I know the process. When that stuff, and it used to be highly stressful, and now I'm just like, even when it comes to a contract, Aaron and I talk about this with patents. You can have all the patents you want, but unless you got hundreds of thousands of dollars to back it up, it's just a piece of paper.
Oh yeah,
and it's the case with everything. It really boils down to you got to have the money to make some of this stuff work.
It boils down to I should have been an attorney.
Yeah, but do you really want that?
No, I know.
It wouldn't be very fun.
It's nice when you do have a good attorney.
Yes. And that's the other thing too, is I've learned that a good attorney is priceless. Yeah. I mean, it's just not only does it just change the game, and there's so much that goes on with it. It was funny. We were in a legal battle at one point, my first one I was ever in, and we were blessed with an attorney that was just remarkable. And we won not because of the court case, but because of all the things that he did outside of the court case, like putting restraining orders on certain things and filing federally instead of at a state level. Yeah. So it didn't matter where the person moved to, it followed them. Just all these creative things that he pulled out of his hat from all these different, that had nothing to do with the actual case, which caused that person to finally just,
he just was smart about the system and knew how to work it to your advantage.
Yep. And that's the part where I think, you know, when you talk about a good attorney, you got to have that for it to be really effective and to really, you know.
You hope you never have to use them.
Yeah, you do. But your average, a lot of those attorneys are like, well, the system's like this and it's like that. And they don't have that creativity in them, what I call creativity. And they just don't, they don't get to through the system as well. Like, it's a guy that's going to like find a way. That's the guy you want.
I got you.
Yeah. We're going to find a way. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's not easy though, dude. Not easy.
For sure.
I feel bad you guys went through that, but
dude, it was a learning experience. I mean,
it was a good example for other people too.
Oh, for sure.
Especially the film permit stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was like, we had a lot of people contacting us after that, like, hey man, I need to talk to you about permits.
Am I going to be in trouble?
Right.
Which, I mean, it's cool to be able to like, just going through it, we know so much about it at this point compared to when we started that, it's nice to be able to like try to at least give some help to people and have that knowledge to like, yo, you should go talk to this person. Like, if you really want to know that, like this person at the Forest Service.
Yeah. Well, it's tough too because you don't know what you can talk about publicly and what you can't talk about publicly. And Aaron and I have kind of built the podcast, built Gritty Bowman, built his. He's always been. We're very public, very open about our thoughts about, all this stuff. And I'm like I've shared quite a bit today about, some of our private dealings with, fish and wildlife kind of stuff. And I feel like if someone is acting in a way that I think isn't fair, or is I think basically on a witch hunt or whatever, I'm going to be very open about my feelings on that. And we live in a world today where there can be repercussions about it. There can be, hey, this is my side of the story, and you have a voice and you have a platform and you can tell it.
Yeah. And
so you're not just a victim in the way that you could be in years past. And I feel like with my platform, man, if I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of or unfairly treated, I'm going to be very open about it.
Yeah.
And let the court of public opinion play a role too.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like tough too. I mean, at the time we had when after it came out, we just put one statement, and from our attorney and talking to other like mentors was just put a statement out, get to the point and just leave it.
Yeah.
Like, don't say anything else. Like, people they're going to keep writing newspaper articles about every single thing you say from here on out. So we had to leave it. And there's so much to the story, and they're just don't try to burn FWP. You probably have bad feelings towards the Forest Service and stuff on that, but unless you want them on your ass for the rest of your time doing this,
let it go.
Take your pride and swallow it. And it's just
like the agencies, their job, the way it's laid out, is good. It's for the benefit of the public and benefit of the wildlife, and there's always going to be isolated
We
incidents.
want them out there.
Yeah.
We want them doing what they do.
We want them to do what they do. And so, I mean, there's frustration from our personal scenario, and some of that, I think is fair enough to tell people about. And there's stuff that I personally think that I won't say just because it's just not like I enjoy what those agencies do, and we're going to continue to work with them, to where, you're trying to give some of our side of the story in the best way without getting into a real
it's tough, dude.
Spitting match.
You're a little bit of a better man than me because Aaron and I we've been talking about it for the last 3 months. There's some things we want to air, man, and we're getting to a point where we're just gonna say how we feel, and people can like it or not, but I agree. I don't want to sit here and villainize the very agencies that because there's excellent people there.
Yeah.
One of my best friends since childhood works, and the work he does is awesome. And if he were the guy that were to come and speak to me, that he's to me the epitome of what a Fish and Wildlife officer should be.
Yeah.
But they're not all created the same, like I said before. So I'm torn. I want to support them, but that doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and keep my mouth shut when they're misbehaving. Yeah, and that's the same with everything, from my kid to my to my to an employer. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I guess we try to just handle it like we handle it people.
Yeah.
If someone wants to ask us about, hey, what's your experience with this person that maybe I don't like, I'll say what the experience is, and they can make their own judgment call. But I'm not going to be like, that person's total garbage and I hate them and they suck. That's going to be my thought for me.
Yeah.
They can hear my experience, and different people are going to have different views of the Forest Service, of individuals, of brands, of conservation groups.
I got to applaud you, because this film right here, The Outlier, is excellent. You guys are in this film. You do a lot of positive promotion for public lands. You talk about the value of that, and then you bring in what I want a non-hunter to see when it comes to hunting. And this is the sort of film that really resonates with me as a hunter.
Yeah.
And you did that after getting your butts handed to you, and a lot of that drama and everything.
And it's that was a learning experience. And most people, if they actually felt like they were in the wrong, say we intentionally did it, we would have quit. We would never keep doing this.
Yeah.
But it was for us dude, I'm going to keep doing this. We know that it was just a mistake.
Yeah.
And we're going to let our work from here on out, show who we are as individuals, and that we're not bad people.
Right. Yeah. And I got to applaud you, man, because there's a lot of people who would just be like, screw this, I'm out. This is just not part of what I want to. I don't want to, get burned again or whatever. So
it just was the public perception was such a far remove perspective of what we actually like stood for and what we thought, that we just like,
this hurts.
we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Dig out of the hole.
Yeah, and it's not been easy, but it's at the same time, it's like I haven't had a single person come up to me in person that, you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that probably hate us for whatever they think we did. No one will ever come talk to me face to face about it or be like, dude, what's your deal, man? You like out there just like raping the resource.
I'm still waiting to applaud the first hater to say something in public. Just be like, hey, I got respect for you, dude. Like, you're the first.
You're the first one. I mean, a lot of keyboard warriors talking some serious smack out there, but
yeah, like the film I'm stoked on. I mean,
I think it's great.
You know, we tried to kind of weave in a little bit of a few pieces of why we value it and why, you know, conservation of public lands is important without getting like too heavy-handed. And
you know, because, you know, a lot of times what we do is very, you know, partner driven, you know, and you have different sponsors that are helping you out. Is there a positive experience with that coming out of this? I mean, were there some companies that kind of stood by you?
Yeah.
There's a couple companies that have stood by us and supported us, you know, both through our business and just talking to us and as friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's other businesses that on a personal level, they love us, you know, like,
but they just distance themselves from you.
But they just are like, there's like a little buffer there now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine. I mean, it's business, and business doesn't always come down to how much you like somebody.
Right.
You know, they got to feed their families and they got to make their living, and like, they might really like you, but like
and they might agree with you, but
you know,
the perception is still there that has to be handled. I just curious because I'm wondering which companies out there like will stick their neck out on behalf of somebody or something that they believe in, even though it may be hard for them. Like they take heat over it.
Yeah, that's a tough call for companies. Unfortunately, we do have a few that they understand. They're like, dude, you're good people. Like, you told us from day one when you got ticketed and the warden showed up on your doorstep, which we told all of our sponsors when they took all of our hard drives. Like, hey, we just want to let you know, like, this is what's happened. Like, we don't know what our charges are yet. They just said we were illegally fishing for bull trout and tributaries. And we just want you guys to know from here on out. And anyone that we even started relationships with, that was like one of the first conversations we had. And even like with companies that dropped us over the incident, we told them on the first day we even talked about like working with them.
Yeah, this
is what's going on. And I mean, that's just, I guess, who we are as individuals, and just being honest. We want people to always just kind of like, we don't want any surprises.
Yeah. I mean, like the standout brands, I mean, Bear Archery, Vortex Optics, and the Elk Foundation all have been
excellent,
really supportive. I mean, whether they're going to be as vocal as they maybe would have been, you know, like publicly, that's probably toned back a little bit, but like still,
like, that's very cool.
You know, doing what we were doing before, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I mean, the sphere that we work in and just marketing and content in general, it's just like, I mean, we love working with brands, but trying to kind of remove yourself from that to some extent is,
being independent
is
of
good.
It. Mm-hmm.
Just because it just changes from year to year. You could be the best filmmaker in the world, and I mean, like Sitka, for example, like they just might be looking for content that just doesn't fit with you the best, you know. Right. And it's like they love what you do.
Yeah,
there's only so much of the pie that can get spread around,
right?
And like maybe there's a different marketing director that came in. And he has his guys, or you know, I mean, it's really hard to fully
gauge every year of like, how's it going to be?
Yeah, doing being able to do what you love to do, create the content and the messaging that really resonates with you, make a difference in the world, whatever your goals are, being able to do that, and then also have the resources, the financial ability to do it without the need of like the sponsorship kind of model is a great place to be, because it does give you a lot more freedom and flexibility, and you know, and there's not those risks that you know, if you're monetizing and really helping with your brand with apparel and, you know, and
selling your content, your film, and all that, dude. That really does help you when the market shifts and things aren't doing well. Your core audience still values you, and they still show that, and it's not you're not like dependent on those external companies that may just decide, we're going a different direction now. You're so much at their mercy, and it's not the best place to be.
No, and it's like projects like this are a good way for people to like support. A lot of different things. This I
DVD,
wish some more people would actually, do that. Obviously, they'd be competing with us, but like the mindset for people isn't necessarily to go out and buy a DVD and support a film. For a majority of the people, I mean, it's like we said, we have 60,000 people on our Instagram page. How many actually are going to buy the DVD? Like,
right.
And so, like, those projects go a long way in allowing people to create the content and tell the stories that they want to tell without the brand telling them what the story is this year.
It's not easy, though, in my experience, to, we live in a world of free content. And I'm guilty of it too. Like, I love to get free content, and if it comes down to I got to buy it, I'm doing that for a select few that I really value and appreciate and want to keep seeing them do what they do. But I almost have to be reminded of that. Like, hey, this supports us so we can do more of this. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I'll go buy XYZ because I want to help them keep doing their thing. But, I mean, it's not natural, though. Not today with so much that's free.
Yeah, and it's super difficult, too, because we almost 100% do public land films, and like you were saying, like private land, like I don't need any film permits. It's super nice, but at the same point, it's like for us, I mean, I'm sure we'll probably do a private land hunt at some point, but it's kind of like we grew up or like started hunting on public lands, and like it's super relatable, and like we want to show like that challenge of public land hunting. Not to mention even more so now with like public lands being challenged as far as like, are they staying? Are they selling them off? Just that whole thing. It's more of a process now. Like, people are like, why don't you put out more videos, more films? Like, well, if I have to get 10 days of permits at like $100 to $250 a pop, plus like my insurance and stuff, it's like, and I don't have any sponsors. It's tough for me just to go on my own and just go
totally get that. That's not easy. I just think it's cool to see you guys. I mean, I've seen you. We're in your like home turf here, the mecca of Montana Wild. I mean, it's in your name, and there's just a lot of supporters I see just cruising by, seeing you guys and supporting you and wearing your apparel and all that. And I found that I can sell way more hats and shirts. People are very willing to buy that. They want to. But they're not going to buy a $2.99 download of a film. And just like, it just doesn't like translate, or $9.99 or whatever it is. I don't get the same response. So I think apparel, it just tells me that people want to support. They're just like, give me a way to do that I want to do. And so, I'm curious. I want to watch this, see how it goes. You'll have to tell me, how The Outlier does. How this, film.
I think it'll
DVD.
be like once hunting season's over, we'll kind of have a good idea of like how it went.
Because
we've never done it, and there's not
too many examples out there to like look at, like
like Donnie and the guys at Sick Man are gonna be like, yeah, we sold this many, and here's how much we made, which is fine.
And Donnie does. I mean, he sells DVDs. I mean, I remember when I wanted to see like Rivers Divide, I got to buy a DVD and have it shipped. What were we in like this is like the 90s. What happened? And but evidently that model works for Donnie, So
it works in other industries. It's just it hasn't been done with like actual films. I mean, the Primos guys had really good long run, and the Realtree guys with like the kind of older model.
But back then, you didn't have all this free stuff.
You didn't.
You couldn't just YouTube and just go through hunting show or
archery elk, and there's like 50 of them to watch, right? Like, and then different people putting out stuff constantly for free, and so it'll be interesting. I hope people do go out and buy this
For sure.
Especially, I'm not one that's very patient, and I'm very digital, so I liked the fact that it was right there on your website. Mm-hmm. Go to Vimeo and download it. Boom, it's on my computer. I can just watch it instantly.
Yeah, we would love to have it on iTunes and other platforms, but I mean, people just don't realize. I mean, it's probably like $2,500 just to get that film on iTunes.
Oh, I think it's more.
Yeah,
I mean,
and like just the licensing for the music on the film was like $4,000 to $5,000.
I know.
Same
here.
Like, people don't
It
realize.
was good music too. Yeah, and a lot of times that's the other thing that kills me is when people make movies and then they go and get common licensing music that's just like ghetto music. I'm like, you have this footage, but the music is every bit as important to me as the rest of it. And you guys did a great job. So
thanks, man. Yeah. We're doing like a 5% back to RMEF for elk conservation. And hopefully,
I see that you have 5% for conservation on here.
Yeah, we're doing that, and then on some of our apparel stuff, we're doing 3% back for conservation as well. So, like, hopefully we can do something along those lines, and maybe at some point it'd be awesome to actually take that, like those funds, and maybe just do like an actual spotlight on like what happened to those funds. Like did we get enough to like make a good difference, or maybe try to show more of the process of just we gave some money and it was over with.
I like seeing that too, by the way. Like Cameron Haynes in Mountain Offs did that truck giveaway. I like actually seeing the video of the guy that gave the truck away too, because so many times it just feels like there's all these promotional deals and then people don't follow through or it doesn't happen, and it's cool to see where it went, to see the evidence of the difference that they were able to make, or that something actually happened that was promised.
Yeah, I was just talking to a guy last night about it, and he was a little frustrated because he feels like it's just a marketing play and there's no accountability to did they actually cut him a check at the end of the year? And or like if we can get enough money like from sales, the 5% can go and tangibly work on a project, like a specific, like we went and removed like 50 miles of fence somewhere, for elk habitat, or we did this, like something tangible, like, oh, sweet, like my money went to like put more elk out there, or like improve habitat.
Well, it's just cool to like have a peace of mind of like your money for conservation is making a difference. I mean, on projects like this specifically, where it would be very cool if we can do that.
So before we wrap up, like, when is the next project coming out?
Too far out.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, I get a taste for content, and I'm like, now I got to wait a while.
Well, we'll have I have an archery mule deer hunt that was a Sitka film that we'll be putting out next month in August.
Yep. That'll be free.
From a couple years ago, that'll be free. It's worth checking out. It was in the hunting film tour as well.
Awesome.
And we'll have some little bits and pieces coming out, but are like our main big projects like The Outlier. We'll be shooting one fishing related one here in the beginning of 2018, but then one for sure large project here this fall of 2017, and some other stuff kind of mixed in. But
nice.
Yeah, we'll probably have a fishing film that we'll try to sell next spring sometime. Yeah. We've been filming some squallow fishing for the past like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't know, those fishing films seem to get you guys into trouble.
Yeah.
This one will get us in big trouble.
We're going to be spotlighting too much cool stuff,
Well, any parting words before we close up? Anything you guys want to share?
It was fun.
Plug? Anything you want to throw out and plug out there?
Check out The Outlier if you get a chance.
Yeah, definitely look up The Outlier. And
definitely check out The Outlier. I watched it, loved it. I'm going to watch it again on my road trip. Heading to Portland later and visit my family back there, and I'm gonna watch it a few more times. I really, dude, you guys did a great job, man. It's a great film. People should support this.
Thanks.
Yeah,
they really should.
We'll keep promoting it. So follow us on Instagram. It's super easy to find us. Just Montana
And there's an
Wild.
Instagram just for the film that
And,
shows a lot of photos and
you know,
background on it.
I mean, and I would say people go follow Montana Wild. I can't vouch for their character, but I think they're probably all right.
That's fair enough. You let them make their own.
Yeah, make your own decisions.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I'm a little biased, perhaps, having met you and knowing a lot of people behind the scenes who know you, who are like, you need to do a podcast with those guys because they're stand-up guys, and it just isn't right. And so, and after hearing that, here we are. So
Yeah,
I'm glad you guys came on, and I'm glad you guys were so open about it too. It takes a lot to some people just want to run from this stuff, and you guys are extremely, extremely open with your story, and that's cool.
Yeah, you make it easy though.
Yeah.
I mean, when you started out with the squirrel poaching, it's easy to talk
I mean, that's
about
a big deal. And then come down to like what we were dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, when you've poached a squirrel, it's easy to share your dirty
You can relate
laundry.
with everybody. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks a lot, Brian.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, stay gritty, guys.
Although our native trout species are resilient fish, they are facing an uphill battle. Historically, there were 28 species of trout that lived in our waters, but 3 of those are extinct. According to Trout Unlimited's research, 13 of the remaining 25 species occupy less than 25% of their historic range. 6 are listed as either threatened or endangered. Renowned conservationist Shane Mahoney recently said, quote, "The natural resources in our country is what makes our country so great. We can have mountains and we can have streams and we can have forests. But if there's nothing living in them, they're meaningless." I agree. Let's not forget that our right to fish depends on habitat. Let's be good stewards of our fisheries and fight to protect and preserve our public lands. Our wildlife habitat depends on it.